Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Jupiter transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Jupiter will traverse a house for approximately 1 year. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Jupiter will be in there for a longer period. If it's a little bit smaller than average, then Jupiter will be in there for a little bit of a smaller duration than 1 year. Anyway, first thing I want to get at is Jupiter transiting your natal ninth house. Well, this is the first thing I see when I look at this is that there could be a lot more exuberance and enthusiasm connected with philosophy, higher education, religion. It might be a more auspicious and favorable time for those things as well. This could be a time where it could be very favorable for things connected with abstract thinking, learning broad concepts and subjects, and people may learn broad concepts and subjects at other times in other times when Jupiter is not transiting their ninth house. However, it could give greater comprehension and a greater ability to assimilate these subjects and assimilate them easier. And really, I guess you could say it's like facilitation of learning, so to speak. And also, this could be a time where you may decide to take maybe that long trip, that long journey that you might have procrastinated on. You might be feeling more adventurous during this time than usual, more expansive, more jovial. As you know, Jupiter is in its natural house during this transit, so this could be a very fortuitous period in general, I believe. And the thing, too, is looking at this, even if you don't go to a foreign country and you don't travel abroad during this transit, you might become more interested in talking with others of foreign countries, more interaction with people of different ethnicities, people that are from foreign countries, perhaps. And the thing to remember too is this could be the time where you can strongly expand, enlarge your horizons. And even if your chart suggests that you're somewhat dogmatic or you're a person that's very set in your ways, if you're like me, for example, I have Taurus rising. As many of you may know, I have a very strong fixed element in my chart. I have a fixed T-square in my chart as well. Even someone like me might be willing to deviate from the norm, so to speak, and expand my horizons. And people with this transit may experience this strongly as well, even those that have a very fixed chart. And the thing about this is, what's important to remember in this transit that you might be more philosophical than usual during this transit. However, it's important that you don't try to forcefully really show give your opinions to others, or there's a difference between sharing your ideas and philosophies and opinions with others as opposed to indoctrinating others, is basically what I'm saying essentially. So that's important to remember as far as this transit goes. This could be a time, say if you're like you teach at some college or university or a professor or something, this could be a time where you're able to get the students perhaps to understand things very readily. Things could go more smoothly during this time as far as teaching goes. Also, keep in mind that ninth house is about publishing as well, and it could be a time where it could be very beneficial for this. If you procrastinated, say, on starting this book, you might at least start the process and start writing it and getting it released to the point where it's going to be published soon. And it could be very auspicious and favorable for this. Now, keep in mind, too, that the ninth house also is associated with in-laws and grandchildren. So if you do have in-laws, if applicable, this could be a more favorable time as far as a greater rapport with them. Perhaps it could be time where you experience more happy, more jovial moments, so to speak, with them. And the same with grandchildren. Even if the in-laws, if the situation had been contentious, this could be a time where things might be smoothed over and you might have a reconciliation with them. And the same could apply for grandchildren as well. If they're at an age, say, where you've had maybe an argument with one or more of them, if you do have grandchildren, this could be the time where where you might reconcile your differences with them. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit, the Jupiter transit to the ninth house. And also one more thing is that you could be a lot more inquisitive on an intellectual level during this time. And if you weren't much of a question asker about things connected, say, with broad subjects, this might be the time where you start to do so, or do it more frequently, I should say. Well, anyway, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made from this transit, as this could impact the transit. Now, I should say the aspects that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points in your chart, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say that this transit from Jupiter in your ninth house is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal Saturn. Well, this could be a time where you might become very discouraged, despondent, or negative even, due to things perhaps not going as planned. And being in the ninth house, this could be connected with long distance traveling, maybe things connected with higher education as well. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Jupiter in your ninth house is making a conjunction to your natal Uranus. Well, this could be a time where ingenuity and originality could be strongly expanded. Now, being in the ninth, this could be perhaps connected with your philosophies and maybe even sharing new ideas, innovative ideas and thoughts, perhaps with grandchildren and in-laws if applicable. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Jupiter transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Jupiter transiting the 10th house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.